Cool. Hi all. Welcome everyone. Welcome to this session. Very warm greetings from Mercy Technologies. So let's straight away go into our agenda today. Just by looking at the topic name, you can see we'll be looking into arrays, stacks, and queues today. Okay. So we'll be getting a very good base of this array, stack, and queue. And maybe after today's class, you should be in a very good position to start implementing, to go hands-on, right? Today we'll be seeing all the basics, all the basis, all the foundation and all, and from then onwards we can move forward in it. Let me go straight away into our agenda. Our agenda is just a 3-point agenda for today. We'll be learning what is an array, how to represent that. We'll be learning what is a stack. We'll be learning what is a queue, and what is the best possible way to represent all these two, right? Using we see, initially I told you guys that a linked list is a physical data structure, right? And array is also a physical data structure because they exist actually physically inside the memory. But stacks, queues, trees, graphs, etc., these are called as logical data structure, which means you will be having some logic and you will be representing all the other data structures. So you can see the same thing, same explanation, I think in my first or second class. Like you can go back and refer to the notes. But today, with this explanation or with this understanding, let's straight away go and learn what exactly an array is, right? Most of the people who are listening to this class right now will already be knowing what is an array, right? What is an array? Array is just nothing but it is a representation, or it is a collection of similar data type items, in a contiguous memory, right? For example, let's say I have taken an array over here. So there is an array like this. And what is this array saying? It is an integer array. It is an integer array. And how is this represented? It is an integer array. Integer, the range in Java would be somewhere starting. I don't exactly remember the number, but yeah, I mean, it has the negative numbers, it has the zero in it, and it has the positive numbers in it, right? So this is how the array is represented. And index. So index. See, the arrays generally have this, zero index array, this one index array, etc. So there will be few programming languages which start their index with one. But since we are considering Java, the index of an array starts at zero, right? This is very important point to learn, or important point to know, guys. Just keep that into your mind. Most of your people will already be knowing all this, but it's good to have learn everything from first again, right? This is how an array is represented, and these are called as indices, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which means when the maximum index is 6, the length of the array will become maximum index plus 1, right? The length of the array will become 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Length of the array is 7. And in other way, we can represent that as length of the array is equal to maximum index plus 1. Okay. So let's see. Let's go and understand how is this represented inside the memory, right? So I told you it is a contiguous memory allocation is present inside an array, right? So let's say we have an index. It starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and finally it goes until 11, which means we can say the length of this array is 12, right? Is 12. So what I want to understand, or what I want you to, grasp at this particular point is the above 200, 204, 208, 212. So all these are called as memory allocations, right? So let's say the memory address is at 200. So in Java, integer occupies 4 bytes of memory, right? 4 bytes of memory. So uh, here, let's say I'm representing 11 with 200. So which means it will be occupying 4 bytes. And the next, I told you contiguous means continuous, right? One after other, one after other. So after this 200, there'll be one more thing, which is 204. So you add 4 to again 200, now it becomes 208. Now again, you add 4, that becomes 212. So the main intention, or the thing that I wanted to explain over here is there will be a continuous memory allocation, and you can get the next memory area by by adding the amount of memory that particular data type occupies. In our case, let's say the integer is occupying 4 bytes, right? There are different programming languages and they may occupy different data types, can occupy different lengths. I'm not specifically into that programming language or into that memory organization, etc. My only point of explaining over here is, if it is an array and you take an array of type integer in our case, right? So next memory allocation you can get by adding the amount of memory that particular data type is going to occupy in that particular programming language. In our example, it is an array and that is in Java. It occupies 4 bytes. So next memory segment or next memory, address we can find by adding 4 to it because it occupies 4 bytes, right? This is so simple. I mean, like it seems simple, but yeah, in implementation, maybe exactly you'll be finding what exactly is inside this. So I told you this, initially we have learned about linked list, right? I told you linked list is the most important, what do you call, part in our whole syllabus, right? The next important thing is arrays. Arrays and linked list are so important. The reason is these two are physical data structures. And if you know the actual implementation details, internal implementation details, then how complex the problem is given to you, whatever is the complexity of the problem, you will be in a position to at least, you will be getting the algorithm to solve. You will be in a position to solve that. And maybe you can make all the test cases pass, right? So this is the reason I'm separately concentrating on arrays as well. So let's try to this is a very simple Java example I want to say. I'll straight away jump into code, right? I'll straight away jump into code. Let me cut this and maybe write this again for you, right? So let me cut this and write this again for you. What I did is I just created one main method. I have created a class called array traverse. I have created a main method, right? Now my actual intention is to maybe find out something like this. I want to represent it something like this, 11, 19, 7, or whatever. So let's say I'm trying to, cut that. Now I'm pasting it, right? I have taken, what did I take? I have taken an integer array. Finally, maybe I'll make it as int array. Okay. So I have taken an integer array. This is how we represent the integer array, right? This is how we represent the integer array. So after that, let's say our first program in our linked list is to represent. So how do we represent? We have taken a class, we made of type node, and then we have a type integer and all. So that is how we represented linked list node. Right here we already have a class called array, which is already defined in Java. So we'll be using the same thing. So this is how it is. What did we do? We have taken a primitive integer type array of type array, and finally we have written something like this. We initialized that array to the example that I showed you. Let me try to print. The second program that we have taken in our linked list is to traverse and print, right? So you can go back and just check, or maybe you can recall, what did we do? We did different things to print actually what is there. So let me try to print this array also over here, right? What did I do? I'm taking a for loop, right? I'm taking a for loop. What it says, int I is equal to 0, and I'm iterating until int array dot length I is less than int array dot length I plus plus. So what I'm doing, so I'm just printing, I, or right, int array int array of I, right? I'm printing the same thing. So if I print int array of I, so I should be in a position to print all this value, traverse all these values and print all these values. Let me try to run this program for you. So what it says, it just gives me, since I have written this system.out.println, it is printing in the new line. So it's printing, okay, it's printing 11, 9, whatever. The console is like, okay, let me show that. The console is over here. And okay, this looks small, but that's fine. So this is how the printing is actually working. So this is nothing but a simple array traversal program, right? This is simple array traversal program. So till now, what did we see is how an array is represented, how the memory is occupied inside, and how do we traverse that array, right? Simple, very simple. So let me go back to my presentation. So here's what it is. After that, with this knowledge, let me try to explain one thing for you. Okay, explain one thing for you. So what is that? Maybe I'll go back to my whiteboard and actually make you understand what exactly it is, right? Let me bring this. Sorry. Yeah. So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to import the array. Okay, array memory allocation. Y int array -1. Suraj, maybe I'll get back to you on this. Okay. Okay. So let me increase this, right? So this is the continuous memory allocation. This is the continuous memory allocation. Here, one important point that I want to actually explain you is, it is starting with index of 0, right? It is starting with index of 0 and it is moving forward like this, right? If you remember, in linked list we have solved different problems. So what are those? Insert. So in insert there are 3 points: insert first, insert last, and insert at index, right? And at the same time we have even solved one more thing: delete. So delete, it has 3 parts: first, delete last, right? And delete at index. So if we need to do the same programs inside an array, let's try to understand what is the time complexity that it is being consumed, right? It is being consumed. So here, let's say I have to insert something at first, right? I have to insert something at first. For example, let's say I want to insert something at what do you call, at an index of 0. Index is equal to 0, and what you have to insert, let's say my insertion value is 1, right? I have to insert the value as 1, but here there is already a number called 11. So that's why if I have to insert something over here, what happens is I'll be giving the index at 0, insert some value called 1. So after that, internally what happens is there should be some shifting operation, right? There should be some shifting operation. The reason is now this is already occupied. The index of 1 is already occupied, but these are also to be moved so that 11 will become to the index of 1. So this kind of thing, so this kind of operations are required internally. The reason why all these are required is, like, you have inserted something at first, right? So that is the reason shifting operation is required. These are all internal things, guys. So when we do that, we will not see all this in the program, but this is what happens internally. When you insert something at first, the shifting operation occurs. So that is why when you try to insert something over here, how many shifting operations will occur? Here 11 shifting operations will occur. So because of that shifting operations, the time complexity will become order of n, right? The time complexity will become order of n when you're trying to insert something at the first inside an array, right? Let's say you try to insert something at last over here. So my actual intention is I need to insert something at 100 somewhere over here, and I know the index is 12. When I know the index is 12, I can directly go and insert, right? I can directly go and insert over here. So there is no shifting operation which is involved. Because of this, since you already know the index, because of this, what happens is that the time complexity will become order of 1, right? So the time complexity will become order of 1, right? Time complexity will become order of 1. So let's say you need to insert at some index. You need to insert at some index. For example, let's say the index is 6. So what will be the number of steps? The number of steps will be 6 plus 6 minus the total length of the array, which means which means that that depends. If it is one, then it will be more number of shifting operations. It will be over here, then it will be less number of shifting operations, whatever. So we need to actually take the worst case. That is the reason order of n would be the time complexity when you try to insert something at a particular index, right? The same applies even for delete, right? The same applies even for delete. For example, let's say here you want to delete something at over here. So again, what happens when you are deleting something at order of, you know, index of 0, again there'll be shifting operations, right? Some shifting operations like this, right? Shifting operations like this, because your array should be starting with 0, but you have deleted something, so that should be, it should be adjusted internally. It all happens internally. So that's why, because of that many shifting operations, the delete first will give you an order of n time complexity, delete at last will give you order of 1 time complexity, and index will be giving you order of n time complexity, right? This is simple concept to understand. The only thing is, it happens, shifting operation happens internally, so that is why your time complexity will be changing. Go back and just check what is the time complexity that we have taken for deleting at first, deleting at last, deleting at a particular index. Same with insertion. These are very important points when we try to implement queue or stack based, right? When we try to implement queue or stack. So with this particular understanding, let me move forward and explain you one more thing, right? And explain you one more thing. What is that? Instead of directly going and explaining you stack and queue, maybe I'll try to actually, you know, explain you what exactly is our intention of learning this over here, right? Let me go back and show you a small thing that I have taken. So I have written a small table, guys. What is this table saying? I'm trying to find out the time complexity. So there are different cases, right? Insertion at end, insertion at beginning, deletion at end, deletion at beginning, right? Deletion at end, deletion at beginning. So let's say I'm trying to explain you this particular example over here. Insertion at end. When you try to insert at end, we have seen the example right now over here, that when you try to insert over here, you already know the index, so you need not do any shifting operations. So that is why the time complexity will become order of 1, right? Order of 1. So inside the array, when you try to insert at the beginning, then shifting operations will happen. So that is why the time complexity will become order of n, right? So again, insertion at end for linked list, right? For linked list, if we go back and maybe try to understand what we have implemented as part of linked list. So this is our linked list. Actually, this is a simple example of linked list, right? So let's say we have taken some linked list over here, and this is how it is, and this is pointing to null, and this is head, right? Let's say we need to try to insert something over here. So what we did, we have taken a while loop and we came until this point, and finally we created a new node and tried to insert, had something and try to pull this and remove this link, etc., etc. So with this, what I want to say is, we have to traverse from start to the end to insert something at end, right? That many traversals or that many steps are required. So that is why the time complexity for inserting at end in a linked list will become order of n. The same thing is written over here. Insertion at end will become order of n, and insertion at beginning, right? Insertion at beginning, what happens when you need to try to insert something over here? Like you need to try to insert something over here, and what you do, so this link, you will be putting this is not, and this becomes head. This is our first program in our linked list. And what will be the time complexity for that? The time complexity is, you are not traversing anything, you just created one node and you have attached that node to the head, right? So that's why the time complexity will become order of 1. So with this understanding, in this small table, what did I do? Insertion at end and insertion at beginning. If we actually observe, if we actually go into this, what happens? It is just opposite, guys. It is just opposite. Insertion at end, array becomes order of 1 and linked list becomes order of n. Insertion at beginning, array becomes order of n and linked list becomes order of 1, right? The same applies for delete also. You can see the same time complexity of order of 1, n, and 1, right? So this is very important understanding. The reason is, let's say in interview, people ask, you try to implement something and it should be at order of 1, or it should be, in constant time complexity. When someone asks you in this way, you actually need to find out that, okay, what should I use? Should I use an array or should I use a linked list? What happens when I use a linked list? What happens when I use an array? Right? This is a very important understanding for us, and you should be in a good position to understand all this, because this will be useful while we try to implement stacks and queues using linked list and arrays. Right? With this point, guys, I just want to ask if you guys understood the explanation till here. So till now, what we have seen is we have seen arrays, linked list, and what are the actual differences in their implementations. Okay, so what happens when you try to insert at end or insert at beginning, what happens internally, and when you try to write some algorithm, what is the time complexity that it is actually taking? We do not know, but because of the shifting operations and all which happen internally, it may take more time complexity, right? With our understanding now, we are able to see that insertion at end or insertion at beginning, deletion at end or deletion at beginning act differently in case of arrays and linked list, right? So today I want to do one more thing, guys. So today what we did, we got introduced you to a new data structure, which is array, right? Till now we only saw linked list. Now I'll be introducing you to two more data structures, which are stacks and queues, right? Stacks and queues. I'll be explaining you about their properties and all, and then maybe we'll be actually trying to find out what we need to actually use to implement all this, right? So here, let me introduce you to stacks and queues data structures. So I told you, stacks and queues, these two are logical data structures. These are not physical data structures. The reason why I say these two are logical data structures is uh, based on some logic, we are saying this stack should act in this way, this queue should act in this way, right? Stack should act in this way, queue should act in this way. So this is how we are saying that this two data structures should be working. So how they should work, maybe we'll see it right now, we'll be seeing right now. So let's say, what is a stack, right? Stack. Let me give you some real world example or something. Let's say in your kitchen or maybe in a restaurant or something, you'll be having stack of plates, right? When you need to take a plate, so that you are in a line, you have to take a plate. So where will you be taking a plate? You'll be taking the plate from the top of it, right? From the top of it. When the number of plates are over, let's say somebody washes the plates and comes back and he again puts those plates on that particular point, right? Let's say you went for a lunch and you have to take plates, and he will be, where he will be putting, he'll be again putting at the top only, right? So insertion and deletion both happen only at a particular point, right? What is that called? That is called as a top. In our implementation, we'll be having a variable called top. We'll be having a variable called top, and this top will be the place where you either insert or delete. So there will be terminologies for every data structure that we learn, right? So insertion and deletion has a particular name. Insertion is called as a push, and deletion is called as pop. So important points to remember is stack, insertion, and deletion both happen at a particular point. What is that particular point? It is called as a top, right? The insertion will happen at top, deletion will happen at top, right? Simple, very simple. So this is called as a stack. If you remember, when we were trying to solve recursive problems, I was saying that, oh, I actually explained you what happens internally, how a stack gets created. When some function is there and its execution is done, then that activation record is removed, right? Where is it removed? It is removed at top, right? It's not removed at bottom or something. It is removed at top. So that is one more example that I can give to you, right? So with this, we have some actual basic understanding of a stack, right? Let me go back to queue. So what is queue then? So queue is nothing but, if we want to take some real world example or real time examples, we can we can think about like that. And what happens is, So insertion and deletion, both of these insertion and deletion occur at two different points, right? Two different points. So deletion occurs at front and insertion occurs at rear. For example, let's say we want to go, we stand in a box office and we want to take some movie ticket or something. So how do we do? The person who is standing at first will be getting the ticket and he'll be going out. So which means the deletion happens at front, right? If you are a new person, there's a big queue and you have to stand. Where you have to stand? You have to stand somewhere at the rear, somewhere at the rear. So the insertion is happening at rear and the deletion is happening at front, right? Deletion is happening at front. So let's say I want to do some comparison between these two data structures. So how is the comparison? Comparison goes somewhere over here, right? Comparison happens somewhere over here. In a queue, the removal is at left hand side and the addition is at right hand side. So I told you push and pop are the two different operation names for stack, and in queue those are called DQ and NQ, right? These are called DQ and NQ. So these are the two different operations. By our diagram we are able to actually see what exactly is it and where are we actually representing all those, right? So this method names, right? See, when an interviewer asks you to represent something, so whenever an interviewer asks you to represent something, the method name, I told you half of your coding will be done when you try to write the code. If you give the correct method name, if you give the correct return type, if you give the correct parameters, right? And your logic will take some 50% weightage. So let's say he wants you to implement, you know, the push operation, right? So you have to give the correct return type, you have to you have to write the correct name, you have to write what you call the correct set of parameters, and after that your logic will be very small. I'll be showing that to you now. Your logic will be very small, but very important point here that I want to mention again and again is the naming convention, guys. The naming convention is very much important, and that carries 50% of the weightage of the program that you are writing. It's not just in interviews, but even when you are working inside a company, right? When your manager comes and asks you to write something, you cannot name a function just like that, because there will be various teams that will be using your method, right? There'll be various teams that may be using your method, and if your naming convention is not good, the other team, they really don't care about what you write inside, because they really will not come and look inside the logic that you're writing. They will only be looking at the method name and what is it returning, right? So that is why this is as much important as the code, the actual implementation code that you will be writing, right? So with this, guys, what I want you previously with our previous understanding, this is our requirement. Okay, where is that? Okay, fine. So with our previous understanding, what we came to know is when we try to implement something, using an array or using a linked list, right? So it has different time and space complexity. Okay, we are not speaking about space complexity right now. We are only speaking about the time complexity. So it has various time complexities. Now, let's say the interview question would be something like this. Let me try to explain that to you straight away on the whiteboard. Okay, so interview question would be something like this. Okay, so implement a stack, which means implementing a stack means it needs to have two methods, which is push, right, and then a pop methods. So again, in the same question, what they'll be doing is implement both of these in order of one time complexity. When you are saying order of one time complexity, you need to, they actually mean that, which means when you try to push something inside your stack, your push operation should not take more iterations. Like it should not take more iterations. That is their actual intention, right? Your pop operation should not take more, more iterations. It should only be done in order of one time, right? Order of one time. So implementing, as I told you, stack and queue, these two are logical data structures, logical data structures. So these two are logical data structures. So that is why we can implement them using physical data structures, using physical. So which means the stack and queue are logical data structures, and we can implement them using physical data structures, which means we can represent the stack and queue using one, which is array, right? Which is array, and second thing, which is linked list, right? So using linked list and using array, we can represent stack and queue, and we can. So when we say we are representing, we actually mean that we can write these methods push and pop, right? Push and pop. So if we see our actual requirement, we need to implement all this, right? We need to implement push and pop in order of one time complexity, and we can do that either using array or linked list, right? Either using array or linked list. Here at this particular point, guys, what I want to actually emphasize is, let's say my first thing is I'm trying to implement that as part of using array, right? Using array. Sorry. Okay, using array. So what we have concluded from our previous table is using an array, right? Using an array, the insertion and insert at end is having order of 1, and insert at beginning is having order of n, right? Insert at beginning is having order of n. So here what we are saying is we need the insertion has two different points, right? So what I want to emphasize over here is, when you try to implement a push method, right? When you try to implement a push method, which means actually you are inserting. When you try to implement a push method, you are inserting something into your stack. So that's why what I'm trying to do over here is, I'm trying to insert something. And when I insert that at in my left, right? When I try to insert in my left, or maybe I can say in my beginning, which means the time complexity that I'm consuming is order of n. So which means we should not be doing, like, we should not be taking this time complexity. So which means we should try to insert something at end, right? When we try to insert something at end, so which means we are able to do that in order of one time complexity. So which means our requirement of having that in the question would be fulfilled, right? Let me try to explain that simple code over here. So this is how we have to start coding is. So what should I say? For example, let's say there is a stack. My method should be push, right? My method should be push, and it should be accepting a variable, let's say x, right? So what should it do? It shouldn't do anything. It should not return anything to me, because top would always be there for me. So what should I do, right? So I'll be taking some variable called void. So I'll be doing some variable called void. So what I will do is, here the push operation, how am I trying to implement this? Let's say there is an array over here. So let's say there is some global variable. So what am I doing? Array of plus top is equal to x. Simple, guys. So this is how it is. I'm inserting plus top. Like what I understand is, here let's say there is a array something like this, and over here is top. So what am I trying to do? There is this variable called top, and to this variable I'm incrementing that at first, and then I'm inserting, So this is top over here, guys. Let's say I'm incrementing, then top goes here, top goes here. So which means top will be present over here, here. Which means what am I trying to do? I'm trying to insert that at the end, right? I'm not trying to insert that at beginning. I'm trying to insert that at end. And with this simple line of code, this single line of code will be sufficient for me to implement a push method, right? This simple single line of code will be sufficient for me to implement a push method. And so what will be the time complexity for this? I told you, when you're trying to insert something at end, when you're trying to insert something at end and you're using an array, which means the time complexity will become order of 1, right? What will be the space complexity? Space complexity will also be order of 1, because based on your input, your space is not incrementing, right? Your space is not incrementing. Let's say you're giving just x, which means it's just a simple variable, and based on this, your array size or your stack size is not increasing, it's not consuming extra space. So that's why the space complexity will also become order of 1. All right, this is simple pseudo code, or maybe this is the actual code. I'll be showing the actual code as we move forward, but this is the actual code for pushing, right? For pushing. And what should be pop, right? What should be pop? Let me try to implement the same thing over here, right? So we have written push. Our simple pseudo code says ARR of plus plus top is equal to x, which means we are able to insert something at end, which is at top. Now let's say we try to delete something. So what is that? Let's say let's say we try to pop something, right? Let's say we try to pop something over here, in our simple example. So which means we should even return pop off. So you need not enter what you are trying to pop, because you already know what you're trying to pop. That is the top element, right? That is the top element. So what you're trying to pop, you say return, you're trying to return I, or maybe top minus minus. That's it. This is a simple implementation of a pop case. What you're trying to do, you're trying to delete where? You're trying to delete at the end. The top will always be growing. You're trying to delete something at the end. This is called pre-increment operator. This is called post-increment operator, right? What will pre-increment operator do? The pre-increment operator will do, first it will increase, and then it will assign. What is the post increment operator will do? First it will return and then decrease. First it will assign and then decrease, kind of. Here the increment will happen at first, here the decrement will happen at last. So what I'm trying to do over here is, let's say our top is somewhere over here in our simple example. Let's say the top is somewhere over here, right? Top is over here. In our pop operation, first you will be returning top, which means you'll be returning this value to the calling method, and then you'll be doing what? You'll be doing top minus minus. So top will not become this, but top will become this, right? And top will become this. So here in the push method, what you will be doing, first let's say this is a simple example, right? Let's say the top is somewhere over here, so for this top, first you will be incrementing it. You'll be incrementing it. So what you're doing, you're trying to do over here, top is now this. You are incrementing top at first, and then you're trying to assign. So which means you will be putting x over here. This is a simple code, guys. Maybe what we can do is, so okay, let me try to do this time and space complexity analysis for pop also. You're trying to delete where? You're trying to delete at your right hand side. When you're trying to delete at your right hand side, which means you're trying to delete somewhere over end, right? When you're trying to delete at end, the time complexity will become order of 1, right? So which means this simple pseudo code that you have written for pop will always be returning you with time complexity of 1. So what will happen? The time complexity will become order of 1, and space complexity will also become order of 1. Simple, very simple and elegant way of representing stack using array, right? Stack using array. So what did we do? There are only two important methods, which is push and pop. We try to write the logic. The logic is just a single line of code. Don't, we need not break our head. It's just a single line of code, and we are able to do that in order of 1 time complexity, right? With this point, guys, I just want to know if you understood what, right? So what is our tomorrow's agenda? Our tomorrow's agenda is to implement stacks and queues using linked list and arrays. And I'll be showing you the code. I'll be sharing you the, HackerRank link, so that you can straight away
practice and make sure that you are implementing that in order one time complexity, right? With this point, guys, let me try to end the session for today, and bye for everyone for today. Bye. Thank you.